Okay, sorry, I was just fidgeting around there. And yes, I know it's going to be flashy in the background, and that might hurt people's eyes because I'm using my phone. I don't have a lot. I don't have equipment. Um, Transformers: War of Cybertron, Chapter One, part of the trilogy on Netflix. I'm not going to do a full review. Go into everything. This series is worth watching. Any Transformers fan is going to watch it. New fans are welcome to it. Rooster Teeth fans, will watch it. It's got its good and bads. That's just what I'm going to say off the bat. It's got everything's got good and bads in it. It's by the time I got to the end of the chapter, I thought this is a 6, like a 6.5 maybe out of 10. I actually started off in chapter 1 saying it's quite possibly 7.58. It starts off really well. The problem is the more and more it dives into itself, it tries to play around with the lore. Um, it really starts to get screwy. The big thing is ideologies. It's a big part of Transformers. Autobots, Decepticons, motivation, right, wrong. This gets dived into a lot, as it should in any Transformers franchise. And one thing I feel like I have to establish, because this show takes it a lot further, and it's possibly the biggest fault with the current show, is if you go back to original Transformers, the basics of the show, especially G1, these are the instances that lead up to everything that happens. The Autobots essentially flee Cybertron. They are pursued by the Decepticons, who don't want them to go on their own ship, the Nemesis. They are invaded in space. The battle that takes place on the spaceships results in damage and forces both ships to crash on Earth. They are put into stasis, and hundreds, if not thousands of years later, they are awoken. Teletran 1 scans the area, gives them the transformation modes, and the next part of the war begins with the Autobots essentially trying to live with humans. They're protecting them and they're benefiting from them with an exchange of energon. Whereas Decepticons, they're willing to tread on the humans. They don't give a shit about humans. They just want to drain Earth dry of energon and take it back to Cybertron. It's very basic, and all the events that lead up to this are coincidental. It's neither fault. You can say the Autobots are versus the Decepticons, and coincidentally, through a random set of events, they crash on Earth. It's not intentional. So Earth gets dragged into it unintentionally. That's what makes the series able to continue the way it does. This series on Netflix, not this, by the way, this is a video game, The Fall of Cybertron, that I played years ago, and it's a very good game. Go play it. The Netflix series stuffs this up in a way, pretty much completely. It does borderline on your ideology, I guess, but even with your ideology, one side just acts completely stupid in my eyes, and painfully enough, that's the Autobots. And it's not so much that the Autobots themselves act stupidly; it's that Optimus is an idiot. He's an absolute moron in this series. There are tiny moments with self-doubt and where he questions himself, and it's those moments that you start to see some hope in Optimus. But besides that, he comes across as like a religious zealot who's just like, hope, hope, join us, hope, join us, oh, hope, and everything will go okay. And it's retarded. He ends up in so many bad situations just based on hope and belief. Even his fellow Autobots, Elita 1, Ratchet, they turn around, they're like, what the fuck are you thinking, man? This is stupid. We're getting fucked over left, right, and center. Ultra Magnus even attempts to go to Megatron's side because he's like, maybe if we just surrender and, we have a conversation with Megatron, because they're actually good friends. In this, they dive into their relationship before the whole Civil War type thing. And it's like, you know what? Surrender, sit down, and maybe we can modify this treaty, which we never see the treaty. We don't know what it consists of, and maybe we can make things work. We might have to submit in the beginning, but we can make things work. And I'm like, wow, Ultra Magnus is a fucking genius. Optimus is just an idiot, and it's made worse due to the fact that Megatron, especially at the beginning, the first few episodes, you feel for him. You see parts of not even humanity. It's just like he's got his evil side, but you do see that light in him as well. Like, he remembers what it means to what they stand for. There's dialogue scenes, especially with Ultra Magnus, where he's like, don't become the people that we rose up against. And you see that Megatron's like, shit, I don't want to become them, because they both have a hatred for the people they rose up against. Megatron does cross the line at some points, but he's usually, and in a weird way, situations around him kind of cause him to cross the line. The first time he crosses the line, it's really not his fault. Shock Blast comes to him and he's like, hey, we can do this really fucked up thing, but it will win us the war. And Megatron's like, let me think about it, because this is some pretty dark shit. He even doesn't like Shock Blast to a degree, because he knows he hides all these really crazy experiments from him that he doesn't approve of. And because Ultra Magnus overhears them, and straight away gets on the comms and goes, Optimus, they're trying to do this, we gotta stop them, fucking hell. And then Megatron finds out that Ultra Magnus sent the message. That's when he steps over the line and goes, you know what, just fuck all the Autobots. He steps over the line because certain situations around him kind of like force him to cross the line, which is really weird. I mean, you feel bad. You're like, the virus is going too far. We saw that in Beast Machines. You don't want to go virus level. That's full psychotic. But essentially, as far as we can tell, Megatron and the Decepticons are a huge force. Rightfully so. They've pretty much taken over the planet. And the Autobots are like maybe 50 Autobots that you can kind of put together. Like, they've really lost this shit. And at this point, I mean, that's probably why Ultra Magnus brings it up. Like, we should just surrender, or we're gonna go extinct, and then everyone's suffering for this. And you just have to ask yourself, you know what? Is it even if they don't surrender, is the better thing for Cybertron just to wipe out 50 Autobots, just kill the fuckers, and then everyone's united under the Decepticon banner? That's the thing that comes into play. Should we actually just wipe out the Autobots so that everyone's a Decepticon? And is it really that bad? Because Optimus is effectively fighting for democracy. Freedom is the right of every sentient being, and Megatron wants tyranny. Basically, he's going to be in charge of everyone. And what you really have to ask yourself is, like, is tyranny really that bad? I mean, he's basically won. You might as well just let him win. And this is made more evident at the real ending of the series, because while Megatron's plan is to wipe out the Autobots, and effectively, if he gets the Allspark, he's taking it too far by using the Allspark to reformat the Autobots into Decepticons, essentially forcing them, brainwashing them to be Decepticons, because they won't willingly surrender. And that's a good plotline for Megatron. It shows his evolution. He's like, we're fighting them, we wanted them to surrender, we've given them the chance, they won't surrender, so we're practically going to brainwash them to be ours. All in all, this is the fight for Cybertron, you gotta remember. For Cybertron. Optimus's plan at the end is effectively to send the Allspark off the planet, which everyone knows kills Cybertron. You take the Allspark off the planet, Cybertron dies. It just dies. And it's told multiple times to Prime, but he doesn't budge on it. Even at the very end, when they're trying to get it off the planet, Megatron's like, dude, you're gonna kill us all by taking this thing off the planet. And Optimus just throws it off the fucking planet. And at the end, I'm like, enslavement and tyranny against killing your entire planet. This, just take for instance, like the American Civil War or World War II or something. Would you rather wipe out one side and yet have the other side live on the planet in control, or would you just blow up the fucking planet because you didn't want to fucking give up? That's how I'm seeing this, and that's why I referenced Generation 1. I was like, Generation 1, it was just a coincidence, the situation that led to the war on Earth. In this, Optimus brings a war to Earth. He's responsible for taking the Allspark off the planet, which is what both sides want. He's the one who brings it to Earth, and now the war's going to start on Earth, and it's essentially all Optimus's fault. And that's why I say he's a moron. Everything else, everything from graphics, voice acting, to the Generation 1 design, stuff with like Ratchet and Impactor being neutral, Bumblebee being neutral, like all this stuff works. It works. Except for the main fucking plot, because by the end of it, you're just like, Team Megatron, man. Optimus is a dumbass. And that's a very... the line should be, you're either Team Optimus, because that's what this series should be, or at best, you should be divided between the two. But this series really nails home Team Megatron, and the weird thing is, I don't even think the creators are aware of it. Like, in some weird way, they're like, be Team Optimus. But no one's stupid enough to do that. Hence the moron. Go watch it, enjoy it. Do you feel the same way I do? Does this just fucking hit you like you want to... First time you want to punch Optimus Prime in the face? Let me know.